Are you looking for a bit of comedy, a bit of heart, and a redemption story that you can take your kids to these holidays? Well, I've got the movie for you.
Welcome to the Lights, Camera, Rant Podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
So the movie that we're looking at is the brand new retelling of the Canterville ghost story. This movie only goes for 89 minutes. It's led by Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry. And this story is by Oscar Wilde. So this is a very old story, but we've seen in multiple renditions. There's been about 4 to 5 theatrical movies that have been released, about 4 to 5 TV show movies that have been released. One of them starring Patrick Stewart and Neve Campbell, which I was so surprised when I saw this. I was like, when did this happen? How did this happen? And how is this only a TV show movie? I was very surprised. But this particular one is a modern retelling of that story. So what the story is about, it's about an American family that buy this property in Canterville, which is called the Canterville Manor. Now, it's haunted by a ghost, which is voiced by Stephen Fry, which is called Simon. Now, he's been haunting this property for over 300 years, and he's ready to haunt it another 300 more. Now, every previous owner that has come into this, he's basically scared every single one off, and he's ready to do it again for this American family, which, main character that we do have is called Virginia. Now, we get introduced into her very early on, and understandable. She's one of those girls who they don't want to move because they're moving from America to England, and she really doesn't want to be there, and she wants to go straight back. When, of course, the dad, the mum, they're happy to stay. The brothers don't care. They're happy to run amok. And as the story progresses, Simon tries to scare Virginia first, which, of course, she's not scared at all. But at the very start, she makes a plan to help Simon scare everybody off so they can move really quickly. But again, unfortunately, that doesn't happen because this is probably more set in it's not really modern day, but it's like slightly modern day, but slightly not, because as Simon tries to scare the entire family, that doesn't go well at all. The dad, the mom, the brothers even scare him himself, and Simon starts getting really down, going, it's not scaring is not the way it used to be, and he feels so defeated. And unfortunately, what we find out is he can't even leave the grounds because he's stuck there because of the curse. Now, the curse is the fact he's stuck there because he lost his wife Eleanor. That was believed that he did kill her and drowned her in a river. Now, of course, we do understand as the movie progresses that isn't what happened, because Virginia and Simon create a bond and they find out more of the story, and Virginia does want to help him in the end. And we also get introduced to Henry, the Duke that lives nearby, and Henry and Virginia get on really well. And the father, he's a bit of a scientist, and he's really all about electricity, and the parents are trying to make this big grand banquet to invite everybody in. Also, spoilers left, right, and center. But if you have come this far, I definitely recommend check it out. It's a laugh, and it's just a good smack. 89 minutes, you won't be disappointed. But if you still want to find out more, let's keep going. So as he's trying to make this big grand banquet to introduce everybody and trying to get to be the talk of the town, if you will, as you can imagine, it doesn't go very well, because Simon finds out the fact that Henry is part of a lineage of family that is the ones who actually trapped him to stay in the castle and cursed him. Because he found out the fact that the long time ago, it was actually someone who actually wanted to kill him instead to get the rights to the castle. So instead of it actually being him who was meant to die, it was his wife Eleanor. This is probably the part of me where it was a little bit sad, as in just talking to him about his wife, how he loved her, and it's the part where you look and go, this is part where it shakes about. I know kids movies can be a bit sad and heartwarming too, but this was a bit like, That's sad. And, he's just trying to do the right thing. And you find out the fact that he was trapped in the castle as his punishment, starved to death, left alone, chained. You get to see his skeleton, which Virginia's been like a holy shit moment. We get to see that and find out. Now, because Simon finds out about Henry's lineage, he goes a little bit AWOL and ruins the entire great banquet. But at the same time, he feels terrible about it. And during this time, Virginia also finds this book, which basically tells everything about Canterville and about the prophecy and what has to happen. Which must admit, the prophecy, when they did read it out, I was a bit like, wow, that's really on the nose. The fact that a girl must sacrifice for Simon to live again and beyond time. When you were reading, I was like, that's not vague at all. That's so like precise of what a prophecy usually is. Prophecy is usually very vague, and you like have to try and figure it out, which there is figuring out in this movie. But at the same time, it was probably a little bit on the nose for this. Now, as Henry and Virginia are searching the grounds, they do find this garden, and which they do find the gardener, which was this really weird scene where she tries to jump the wall, but the gardener scares her, cuts a rose, and she basically loses part of her breath. But the gardener we don't see ever again until the very end. So what happens is Virginia figures out where the prophecy is. She reads it. She goes with Simon to go into the garden to help him move on and go on to the next part of his life. The great beyond, if you will. Unfortunately, Simon's like, no, I don't want you to do that. You've been a great friend and all this. But they go head in. Virginia goes right into this. And when they go in, they meet the gardener. Now, this was a real cool twist of fate that I didn't realize. So the gardener is actually the Grim Reaper, is actually Death in this kid's movie, and who is played by Hugh Laurie. And you find out that he's the one who's orchestrated this. He's the one who's gave the book to Virginia to read, get her to come here, and the only way that Simon can be free is the fact that he has to duel, if you will, the Grim Reaper. And the catch is, if Simon loses, both Virginia and Simon are stuck there. And if they do win, then Simon's free to go. Now, there's a really cool fight scene, which is done really well. A little bit creepy because of the fact that it goes a little bit skull, dragon, literally you're going into a bit more darker territory. And as they go into this fight, now what happens in the end is they actually get a draw, which I did like. However, the Grim Reaper did say the fact that even though Simon must stay here if Virginia decides to leave. Henry also does come in to help, so we get a good action set piece right there. There's probably about 3 action scenes all through this, so it's not just a little bit lull and mystery. There's a lot of action to this to get your kids hyped. And then what happens is that she comes back to life. She comes back to life because she walks into the Garden of Death. She's presumed dead by her family, which there is. I do like it. There is also a Ghostbuster in this movie, but they do a good pun 10. They say, "Oh, Buster of Ghosts." I was like, I see what you did there. Who is utterly useless, and you do find out that she's never captured a ghost, and this is the very first time. So when Virginia does wake up, she realizes what she has to do. She gets in the garden. She sees Simon has become a statue because of what happened with the duel, and she cries. And her tears break the curse entirely because the prophecy is fulfilled, which the Grim Reaper does say everything needs balance. So Simon goes off into the heavens with Eleanor. They get to live very happy ever after. Henry and Virginia go to live happy ever after. They get married and fly off onto their next adventure. Now, I must say the animation, I like the animation style, especially a lot better than what I've seen with Disney and Wish. more like, it made me think of, I think it's called Frankenweenie, or Monster Group. It came out in about 2009, 2010. Monster House. Same kind of animation like Monster House, which is another absolute sad story. But that's another one of the animation style. So I really did like that. The music was really good, especially in the tent scenes. But overall, I have to say this film was not normally what I usually watch. However, just being for a kids film, a little bit different, and to kick off 2024, I think this is a really good start. I think families will get a kick out of this, especially in a fresh telling of the Canterville ghost story. It doesn't go too dark, nothing like Puss in Boots and the Last Wish, but this is definitely something I would recommend. As holidays are nearly over, I recommend taking your kids as I'm filming this. But if you have seen it, I'd love to know what you think. Did you like it? What did you like it compared to the other versions? And what didn't you like a film? I'd love to know. As always, until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, happy ranting.